I think that what I thought about it was crazy in the 1990s, and I kind of viewed it from a little different direction. But it was kind of the golden years, I guess, of cable TV going out, maybe the gilded age of since all the things that happened in the 1990s. I mean, we were sitting in a good position because we had a product on a PC or desktop, and everybody else in the cable business were mainframe, and they weren't equipped to go internationally. So we did a lot of things with companies that were startups, but they were funded by large U.S. companies, Time Warner, and we did some work with UIH, which is the predecessor to Liberty Global, so we got involved with that, and we took off, and I traveled all over the world, and I got over into Indonesia and Jakarta with Dwight Harlan. The funny part about this story was that I did a demo, and my friend Ed at that time was working with us, and we did it on the kitchen table for Betty, and Dwight was there, and I that was, I don't know, when that was starting up over there, and I know that was before you were still governor, but you'd been in the cable for many years. That had been a business you'd been in for several years, but we spent a lot of time, and I think you met my friend Sid Shreve. He came out one time from Phoenix. Do you remember Sid, or is that somebody?
I don't remember.
I was going to say when we talked about that, because he flew out, but he had a lot of things I talked about because of the fact that he had grown up there with his mom, and we traveled a lot over South America, but that was a cultural thing that he knew. He knew that the culture in Argentina was in your face and smash mouth, and you went over to Brazil and it was more genteel and more, a different atmosphere. So you had to know that cultural difference when you went in to do a presentation. And when I did presentations in some countries, it's like in the U.S. starting out, because cable started in rural areas, and the owner was having to make a fast decision. So you were there with a decision maker, and you had to answer questions and do it that way. And that was a little bit like Argentina, but in Time Warner's case, you had to go up the ladder, and they had to do all the other things. So it's kind of funny how our paths had crossed there. And I know as a governor. Now, when did you have your your transplant on your liver relative when you were governor? I know that was after you left as governor, didn't you?
On Christmas Day of 1992, I had my liver transplant. It came from an 18-year-old boy who was killed on Christmas Eve in a snowmobile accident. So that's what his family was dealing with when, at dawn that morning of Christmas, I got the gift of an 18-year-old boy's liver. I was able to get it because, as in Arkansas, I think still, on the back of your driver's license when you're getting a license, there's the opportunity to sign a little gift where you authorize the use of your organs if you're dead or dying to be given to another party. Mm-hmm. So I'm alive today, as I sit here with you, with a wonderful liver that works for me.
Well, that's great.
It does not impede me in any way, except I can't drink Budweiser beer anymore.
It's a difference out being in the military. I'm sure that was quite the drink there, I guess. So that was after. So you had been a representative. We talked about that last year, about your connection there with John Paul Hammersmith from Harrison, and how that had been a really good influence. And then later on, you were governor, I guess, for a few years, and then after that, you've been into the cable, and you've been into a lot of other businesses here in Little Rock.
Most of our cable business substantively had been before I was governor, and it had been. It was a relatively simple process. Mm-hmm. You just had to have the capital to be able to hire the people that needed to understand the tiny, important things in the cable.
Yeah.
And in terms of other countries, we were the same way. We went to Argentina also,
Yeah.
and Buddy Benefield and I flew down
Okay.
there together. We got a little system established there. But anyway, I won't run through all of them. But South America, Europe, the Middle East.
Okay. Yeah. I've been to
Indonesia.
Kuwait City and did some things there. So
We built the greater part of Jaboka Dak, which is Greater Jakarta, and my team members who were there from the United States, overseeing the construction and so forth, worked with the local folks and understood that this was politics.
yeah.
They made friends with them and ended up building all these places. And the only fight we had was the village chieftains. Now, these are urban villages.
Yeah.
And you're right in the middle of a great big city. But they controlled a number of city blocks in an area. And
Well,
we would give them
Yeah.
cable TV, and their constituents wanted to see it too, so we had to put it out in an open area and protected and work with
Yeah.
the chief on it. But it was interesting to see the cultures.
And the villages out there that they brought in a lot of international shopping things too. I mean, some of those cities were really interesting. I know I did make a visit out there, and it was quite different. Of course, the traffic in downtown Jakarta was crazy, but everything else was. You could get on these communities, and it was quite a bit different too. So it was a different lifestyle out there for sure.
We had Indonesia would have not have been unique in this respect, but it was one of the selling points that worked was one of the major investors in our company was a very strong Christian, and he went to church on Sundays. But he and his family and his father's family, other family members.
With all the Muslim, they have one of the largest percentage of Muslims,
That's right. So they're working in a tough territory.
Yeah, it was kind of. I remember
particularly in these little urban villages, which are nothing but a 10 square block area or something like that, depending on which one it was. But this is not something out in the woods. This is right in the middle of a huge city.
I know that James Riyadi he came to Little Rock. He was in the banking, wasn't he?
Yes, and ultimately he went back to Jakarta, and there's a long story that I'm not familiar with, but he went back. He still visits occasionally.
Does he?
In the United States.
Now, his dad was Mokhtar. Is he still alive?
He was still alive. His father was still alive the last time I talked with him.
Yeah, I figure you're getting pretty old at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, running those Christian Sunday broadcasts in the middle of a Muslim village to the Muslim chieftain was a touchy proposition, but there was an audience for it. There was curiosity that drove part of it, wanting to see what really was taught in a Christian church.
Yeah, it was.
And then over time, there was an attachment to it. They liked what they were hearing. So I felt very, very good about that little bit of our business.
Yeah, well, that was. I know you built a lot of interesting content. I remember some of the things you were trying to put out there, and it's really pretty much advanced, and a lot before a lot of things here, right? And a lot of things toward the children and other things that you did. I was pretty amazed at some of the contents that you had. A little bit of a side story. I had a guy that went over there and did some development named Jamie McIntyre, and he ended up marrying someone over there. Come back, and now he works in the States, but he was one of a good, you have those people that are, I guess, the creators, the software developers, and so that was an interesting story that came out of our connection, because we had people over there for some time. But, another person I was just kind of curious, Do you remember any contact we had with Paul Case from Denver? Do you remember that name? I'm kind of checking you out a little bit on your Alzheimer's, but also just to see, he was the guy that helped me with the stuff at UIH and Liberty Global. But I remember we had some contact with him, and I don't remember if you even remember the name, but I just wanted to throw it out there at this time to see if you do.
I don't remember much about that.
Yeah, okay. I could probably jog your memory with some other details, but you've run into so many people, it wouldn't necessarily be Alzheimer's. Just the fact that I know people throw out names to me, I would probably be about the same way, because there's so many people, and even in a place that I grew up in Harrison, I run across, I'll see a face and I don't remember a name sometimes. It's just it's kind of the way it is anymore, because things have changed quite a bit. But I know that we're going to head over here in a few minutes to the library, and I know they've got some of your 800 boxes, and so we're going to just spend a little time looking at that. Is there anything in particular that you're trying to do as far as getting that information where people can? I know there's ways that you can do searches, but to make it easy for people to see, is there anything you can do for that you can think of at this time to improve that? Is that something they can't do?
Oh, I sympathize with whoever's going to have to go through these boxes, but I literally cannot take the time to separate all of these papers over the years into an appropriate either subject matter or date arrangement. So,
well, I was wondering how those things are done. Is that something for the volunteers, or is that something they handle?
I don't know how they're handling it.
Okay, well, we'll talk to them when we get over there. I think I'll just close it off here, and we'll kind of end up our breakfast. We had a great breakfast here in downtown Little Rock. I hadn't been to the Gap Hotel for a while, but it's kind of an interesting time and I'm sure you've been here several times in the past, because it's kind of a popular place, as you can see, for business people, and we're right across the street from Stevens, so I'm sure they have people in and out here too. So we'll end it at that, and we'll talk a little bit later.
That's great. Thank you, my friend.